I want to give back to the community. I want to give back to the game, something that's given me so much. And I didn't want to do it in a way of like giving it to somebody who already have access to it. Yes, it's easy to go and work in an academy as a coach, which I still do. I'm not saying that I don't do that. But I think it was about giving to communities that do not have access to it.
It's an honor to sit in this TV studio today. It's the first episode that we are shooting for Passionate Pulse TV in Silicon Valley, and it's in the TV studio that, these things are magical things are happening. And what a great honor to sit on this hot seat with none other than the Sindhu Sriharsha.
I think for me, I had taken so much from cricket. I think my identity today, and people recognize me, it's because of cricket. I think I owe everything back to cricket. So I think that is where my head was.
One, when you play for your own country, that's a different stream. And the second, this is a country that we have chosen to do work, to build our careers. So we say a karma bhumi. So, how those emotions are really different, and what you thought when you stood there when the US national anthem was playing.
Most of the sports in the US today is reached the level it has reached is because of the NCAA. But I think there's a way, the direction that if we want to go. Well, I think the gender bias in sports, it wasn't there. We have to talk about the elephant in the room. But
what is the role being in Silicon Valley that plays out for them to build this kind of companies?
Yeah. But in the end of the day, I want to say data is data to some extent. I know data can't lie. But in some places, as a coach, as a captain, I've made some decisions.
One that has come from Anjali, and she is asking about how do you all balance?
Talk to my husband. Just kidding.
The next interesting question that I have is from 11-year-old. Welcome everyone. It's an honor to sit in this TV studio today. It's the first episode that we are shooting for Passionate Pulse TV in Silicon Valley, and it's in the TV studio that, these things are magical things are happening. And it makes me very nostalgic because, when I started this show, it was initially a Women's Special Express, and I used to curate this change maker, trailblazing women, and somehow or the other, the milestones have been women in my life, to unfold their lives much better for the communities to foster. And here we are achieving another milestone at the podcast, sitting in this TV studio, and again with a wonderful woman to celebrate for the Women's Month that we are, shooting this episode for. And what a great honor to sit on this hot seat with none other than the Sindhu Sriharsha, who was the former US cricket team captain for the women's team. She has led the team here, she has built the team here, and for the cricket to grow in this soil, she's doing phenomenal efforts. Being trailblazer herself, her story itself was the passion-driven one. I feel it's the dream coming true for my podcast to achieve this kind of a milestone. Let me welcome all of you. This is Sindhu Sriharsha from Bangalore to US, and now as an immigrant but playing for the US soil. What an honor it is to play for any country, the sports that we love, to shine and foster the places that we want to. And the wonderful thing is, the cricket is yet aspiring over here. It's an aspiring sport. It's still looked up as a sideline or, the hobby sport. And she's here determined to, take that sport as a primary one and taking all the efforts that she could along with her teammates. Let's hear more from her. Hi, Sindhu. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Pranali. Thank you so much. I mean, I think I should let you write my LinkedIn profiles from now on for the way you gave me an introduction. And I think thank you so much for that. And thank you for calling me on this podcast, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Yeah, great. Yeah, feel free to drop by and, we'll do your PR work for sure. Well, the jokes apart, let's deep dive straight onto the conversation. Many of you have, many other podcasts, the talk shows have covered your journey as an individual. But here, especially when we are looking forward to, unplug the Silicon Valley in the different shapes and forms with the passion, my first straight dive question to you would be, in order to grow cricket here as a mainstream sport, and having women pick up this sport as an looking out to be a dream sport, what are some of the systematic challenges that you have seen, especially being India's A-team sports person that was selected, did not make it to national, but very close, have been trained there in that, the rigorous environment, the professional environment, which India inherently has now for that sport, versus over here. What are the systematic challenges as a woman that you think needs to be addressed, needs to, worked upon?
Great question, and I love that you just dived right into the most challenging question that we're all trying to answer now for USA for a while now for cricket to kind of grow here. I think first of all, for any sport to work in any country or for anyone to kind of pick up a sport, it needs to be unstructured. And I think I've talked about it a little bit in other podcasts too. Is like what I mean by unstructured cricket or any unstructured sport is you want kids picking up a bat when it's thrown on the street and start playing the game. That is how you'll grow a game. You want unstructured way of people loving the sport and playing that day in and day out in their backyards and with their families, with their with their fathers, and they grow up playing as kids with their neighborhood friends and their brothers and sisters. That isn't happening in USA cricket, and that is why you don't see the numbers that's growing systematically. Yes, there's a lot organized sport, there's unstructured, there's academies there, there's clubs there, but I think what we are missing definitely is kind of that unstructured way of playing the sport itself, falling in love with the sport, falling in love with wanting to play the sport. That is missing, and I think we're trying to find that through organized, structured way, but that's quite hard. I think we've missed the bus there. We should try and get the kids to love the sport away from the structured way, be it any other sport. Like today, say basketball, or even you see kids playing on the fields, on the grounds, that they're playing basketball or they're playing baseball. That's what they grew up playing, or with their fathers just throwing the ball at in their backyards. I think once we kind of make that change, you'll see a lot more numbers kind of growing. And then once that is attended to, then you have the school structure coming in, then you have the college structures coming in. Most of the sports in the US today is reached the level it has reached is because of the NCAA. Because of kids knowing that if you play a sport, they have something to look forward to. They can go to a good university, they can get scholarship through universities. So I think there are multiple ways of reaching there. First, I would say if we need to improve the numbers, getting into the grassroots level, making cricket accessible to all communities, giving an opportunity for kids to kind of get to know the game itself, not wanting to think about the next best cricketer, but just think about introducing the sport to a new community, have them play the sport, fall in love with the sport, understand what cricket kind of gives you as an individual and how you can grow as an individual just playing a sport. If we can make entrance there in the grassroots level, that's the first level. Second is having a platform for people who have now picked up the sport, love the sport, what next, giving them a platform and letting them know if you continue playing, then you have an opportunity to be an NCAA. You can be getting scholarship playing that. We're not promising that none of you are going to be the next best cricketer in this world, but giving them platforms of like, what is your level 1 to level 2 to level 3. I think we're missing the bus there a little bit. As long as we can make those changes, and I think, I'm not saying the results will be overnight. It'll take us years to get there. So did soccer. Soccer took a lot of time to get there, and today, we all know how big it is. It took time for women's cricket to grow in India. I was there when it was, grassroots levels, but now where it has reached, it took years to reach there, but there were right steps taken at the right point, and I think that's the thing that we should be focusing on right now here.
Interesting. And in that particular moment, that's where your aspiring cricket non-profit comes into play, right? It is not aiming that the girls should go at a professional level, whereas it is more accessible to the grassroots level for all the communities. We might want to, start from there, that, at an individual level, being passionate and being powerful personality in this particular sports. What is that the legacy that you're looking forward to build, so that anybody could just pick it up on the floor? And because when you talk about that NCAA sports, there is a simple quota system that works. The number of boys team and the number of girls teams, they have to match at certain level. That's when especially in United States,
Yeah.
that particular, the sport is considered at a level where it is having the recognition. And we are falling off much behind on the girls team out there. So would like to know more on that lines, that what are you doing from Aspiring Cricket, and how did it
Yeah.
come to life, and in
Yeah.
general the story behind it.
Yeah, sure. Obviously, I've retired recently. It's about a year back, but I think I started questioning my kind of what's kind of the legacy I wanted to leave behind, and what's after playing too, right? So over the past few years that I've led the team, so I've led this team for led the team USA team for almost 8 years, and I knew there is an end to a playing age. Like I knew there was an end that's coming, but I think I had a really good mentors trying to ask me, what's your why? I think the purpose was like, what do you want to leave behind? I think for me, I had taken so much from cricket. I think my identity today, and people recognize me, it's because of cricket. I think I owe everything back to cricket. So I think that is where my head was like, I want to give back to the community. I want to give back to the game, something that's given me so much. And I didn't want to do it in a way of like giving it to somebody who already have access to it. Yes, it's easy to go and work in an academy as a coach, which I still do. I'm not saying that I don't do that. But I think it was about giving to communities that do not have access to, going and introducing sport to schools and colleges, and be it in communities like Compton that I've talked a little bit about, where there is soccer, Latino girls playing club soccer. There's going and introducing new sports to them. So it was just about, as a group of friends, I think we were sitting on the couch of my house actually, and then we were thinking, what do we do? I mean, do we continue giving to people who already have access to it, or should we be thinking about somebody else, like thinking about what else can we make as a movement here and kind of change things? I think that's how Aspire came into picture. I want to say that I don't think we've done enough, and I think it is quite hard as a nonprofit with three of us who are really full-time professional careers. Some of us still playing. It has not been as moving as we wanted it to be since we started off, and obviously it will pick up. I think it will pick up once all of us have had a couple of years of time to downtime, that we can go and put in more work into it. But I think the vision and mission is more about making it more accessible to cricket, being accessible to anybody to pick up. And I almost want to say today, cricket or any sport, for the matter of fact, it's become more about you have the money, you can play. Yeah, that's why I don't want to be too controversial about it, but I think I do have a feeling that it's more about, especially cricket in today's community, it's more about academy. Where can I play next has always been about, okay, the only way for me to play is go and register myself into this particular academy, and this is what I got to pay for it, and this is my structure. But I think that is what we want to get away from. Have we answered it? No. We go and do discovery pop-ups. We do summer camps with Girls Inc., another nonprofit who focus on leadership for middle school and high school. So we go and do summer camps with them. But they have always asked us, we love the sport. So these are people from South Asian communities.
Interesting.
They love the sports because it's easy to understand. It's easy to, when you obviously modify cricket. I know cricket is not easy, but there's modified versions of cricket that you can play. But the first question they ask us is, what next? I want to sign up for this. And I'm sorry, but I don't have an answer for that. The only answer that I can give them is, yes, I mean, the closest, where do you live? Okay, you live here. This is the closest academy you can join.
Right.
Again, it's academy-based, and we are asking somebody to pick up a sport and play a sport with an academy-based, structured way.
Right.
I think as Aspire, we've figured out what the grassroots level is in terms of like going and making cricket accessible and just giving the knowledge and introducing the sport. But there's a layer that we need to think about even before the academy, that can we provide a layer where people just play the sport for for the fun of it.
Right. And in order to fill up that gap, like, what is the augmentation that needs to happen? Like, do you think like these academies, see, the academies are operating at a different structure for sure, but then, how do we make, that gap filled? What sort of solution that you see is little practical to implement immediately, if there are certain governing bodies that can come together? I mean, we should be using this platform to, make those the action calls better, and
Yeah.
want to see that if there are any supportive hands walk in to bridge the gap that we're looking forward to.
The easiest way, I'm not saying this is easy in any way, but I'm saying that I think getting it into school curriculum, which is not easy again. I'm not going to say this is easy. Getting it into school curriculum as part of their PE programs is probably the way to bring it, and that becomes more accessible. Anybody in a PE class can pick up the sport and play. Few of the Tri-Valley schools have actually tried that, and you see number of girls and number of boys picking up the sport now and playing in PE classes.
Oh, interesting.
There's also after school kind of classes that happens, and they've tried those things out. Again, but we've focused very much on the communities that are South Asian again. So it's more about Dublin, Livermore, South Bays, but we want to go and explore other areas too.
Yeah.
So that is, I think, easiest way. It's not easy to go in and stand in front of district levels and asking for these permissions to have a new sport introduced. I think there's a lot of policies for that to get those approvals. But I think there's a way, the direction that if we want to go, it should be running a few pilot programs in some areas that we can identify that this is where we want to run a pilot program and show that it can be part of a school curriculum as a PE program, and then take it forward and show it as an example to the rest of the districts to kind of pick up from there.
Right.
Yeah.
So the easiest way, I feel like, we can, like the parents who are actually on the school bodies, or, they go and, they have a voice to, show up in their counties and talk about it, and, the parents community can actually represent as a part of it. And considering the baseball players are already here, very well established, picking up cricket is, not going to be a far different genre for them. So I think the parents themselves can put up a case in the school counties, and they can, seek those changes. That's something that I can just think about, considering I'm a parent and we know how the schools are operating here. And like in this country, everybody has got a voice to stand. Although you are an immigrant, you're not a citizen, you can very well go on your county meetings. You can, surface out your issues, and this is like the phenomenal way of using that freedom. I mean, of course, if you choose to, and depending on, how much ratio of the parents or the school boards are actually, vouching for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think if cricket is alive today in the US, it's because of the parents who actually, their kids playing the sport, who are trying to keep it active and, running different programs to make this, even a dream for one of their kids to think about tomorrow they can go and play USA team. I think a lot of kudos, and I should give shout out to all of the communities like today is because of all of those parents who've kept it alive. I don't think there would be cricket without the cricket community that we've built over the years.
Right.
And that all of that has happened because of parents like you, or like you mentioned, who are showing that, who's passionate about growing the sport.
Yeah.
It's because of those parents in the community.
Yeah. And this is actually a phenomenal time, especially when the Olympics have accepted, it has accepted cricket as one of the sport, which is at a recognition level. So there are good days that we see that are coming up for the sport. So, what is your take on it, when, especially when, this happened, like that Olympics move?
Yeah, I think it's a dream for anybody, right? I think when you think about it as an athlete, when you dream about Olympics, is, your dream that you could, that's the pinnacle. Like, I don't think there's anything over that you can think about. Obviously, it's great times for cricket, and I think we're only starting off slow with just 6 teams coming in there. I don't think there's a qualification that they've actually come out with who's going to be playing in those 6 teams in Olympics. But nevertheless, I think it being in the US itself should, give us something to start, working towards and building that momentum and using that as, our stimulus to kind of think about how we can use Olympics as the event to bring up sport as cricket in limelight? You know,
Right.
in how do we use that? I mean, it's come to us, with the red carpet,
Yeah.
honestly. Like, it just so happens that 2028 LA is Olympics is in LA,
Yeah.
and cricket got, approved too. It's just come to us as, as a red carpet. What can we do to
Yeah.
use that? Are we doing that already? I think we're already behind it. It's already 2026. It's just 2 years down the lane.
Yeah.
It hasn't helped either. I mean, not having a governing body is obviously not been good for USA cricket. The past year or so, we've struggled with not having a governing body that can actually lead us. I mean, as much as you and I can sit here and talk about community doing the work, you still need a governing body that can actually take the sport forward.
Right. So right now I see like a lot of structural effects are happening. Like we see that the MLC is operating, but then there are different clubs that are operating and like selecting players, bringing up even from different countries to form the teams and everything. So what do you really mean by the governing body that is different than these bodies that exist today for us?
So what you're talking about is a private bodies.
Right.
So every sport has a national governing body. So that is recognized by ICC, like International Cricket Council has to recognize one national governing body that is responsible for building the sport in that country. BCCI, for that factor, is the national governing body that's recognized by ICC that is responsible for taking cricket is responsible for all of cricket in India. Cricket Australia in Australia, ECB in England. So there are boards that's been recognized by ICC, which is where you get the fundings from. So each national governing bodies get funding from ICC to keep the sport alive. So we have USA Cricket, but USA Cricket was suspended 2 or 3 months back. And before that, there have been issues, financial issues. There have been issues where there's funding that's been stopped because organizations have been not the way that needs to be, so not to bring out...
it's a lot of chaos.
A lot of chaos. So what that does is not having a national governing body, you're already missing out the funds, first thing. So ICC stops the funds once you're suspended. If there are no funds, then there is no cricket, there is no domestic pathways. When I say domestic pathways, you're playing, so there's a structure for you to play for the national team. So there is domestic pathways, there's different levels that you got to play to reach and USA Cricket, when they get the funding, they're supposed to give it out to the community to grow the sport in your community. So when top down is an issue, bottoms up, it's always going to be an issue as well. Yes, the community is still keeping sport alive, you're still playing the sport, but again, the problem is we're not able to build up the grassroots levels because there's no structure and there's no guidance, or there is no...
so a lot of system is fragmented today. Because of whatsoever chaos or the policy or the rules that are happening. But in spite of that, we also see a good movements that are happening, like especially the World Cup that's going on. I think like the USA is doing far better than we had thought of earlier. I mean, it's very close chase that we are putting up with different teams, and it's good news to put together.
I mean, you're talking about men's World Cup. I will mention about the women's World Cup global qualifiers. So for you to play a World Cup, so most times it is for women's cricket. So far, we had 8 teams playing in World Cup, and 6 of them normally get qualified based on the rankings. And then for 2 spots, the rest of the world kind of plays a tournament called the global qualifiers, which is where the top 2 teams or 1 team kind of qualifies for the World Cup. Especially for teams like us, say USA, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, UAE, or PNG. So we all have to play a regional qualifiers, which is Americas, which is called Americas. So we go play an Americas tournament with Canada, Brazil, Argentina, and USA, 4 teams. One of the team qualifies to go to the global qualifiers. And then the same region qualifiers happen in all other regions too. Like Europe region, there is Scotland, Netherlands, Ireland play regions. The winner of that comes to this global. Asia Pacific, and Asia. So all of those come together and play a tournament called Global Qualifiers. So we recently had that in Nepal in Feb and actually Jan, which kind of finished a couple of weeks back. 2 teams qualified. USA did really well, became really close. I think it just came down to just one game, not winning one game. We lost out in making to that World Cup by just that one game. But I think we've made a lot of progress in that. The girls out there went out and competed against some of the bigger teams like Ireland, Scotland, and
Netherlands as well.
Netherlands. So yes, we don't get to play all of these bigger nations, on a regular basis. But I think what the girls have shown there to say that USA is also in the reckoning, and we're there to compete, and we almost made the World Cup. So I think that's something to look forward to, and to say that it's only upwards, but what can we provide them more, and how to make them better. I think we're missing a lot of things there. Yeah.
But the interesting fact that you mentioned, when we were conversing about the women's cricket team from US especially, how the cricket teams are forming right now in US especially, we are actually calling in a lot of immigrants and forming the teams to have the best players representing this nation. But the interesting fact that you told me, I think yours was the last batch that could possibly have the US women's team, qualified through immigrants, but now it's a different journey that we are seeing. So I would just love to, hear more from that from you.
So I do want to clarify one thing, and I don't think, especially with women's cricket, we haven't actually gone looking out for players outside to come and ask them to come and play for us and to move to the US to play. It's all homegrown talent. In fact, I want to say all of the 15 that went away to global qualifiers were all first-generation Americans. So we did, especially women's cricket, we did take that stance of not really about where they were born or anything for that matter. It's about changing the average age of the team. I think in 2011 or 2013, when we started actually making into this global qualifiers, our average age of the team was close to almost 30-ish. But I think we made this very conscious effort of bringing in the younger generation into the group. By the time when I quit playing for USA national team a year back, the average age had come down to 18 and 19.
I think
with me being in there.
So that's a super.
But there were growing pains, right? I mean, I'm not saying that we reached there with and everything was.
No, but at least it is throwing up a different hope for everyone to
100%.
see homegrown talent is coming, so that that the people who are playing, the women who are getting qualified there or representing a nation, that is throwing a huge picture at their school levels, at their high school levels, or whatever. That's kind of a movement in itself.
Yeah, and I want to mention that because I think we knew that we wouldn't get the results the first couple of years, right? They are 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds. When we took them away for these national tournaments or even qualifiers, yes, we looked like a bunch of school kids on the ground playing bigger nations, but we knew that the results was going to come few years down the lane. We stuck at it, and we knew that we are building the next generation of leaders. And now when they went away to global qualifiers, some of the big names who were actually they are just 18 today or 19 because they were exposed to this at 15. 5 years down the lane, like now when they're 19, 20, they're already giving you the results.
And they have a big runway on lying in their
and
career.
They have 15 more years if they want to think about it, that they can give back to the sport because of what we invested very early on. So it was a conscious effort at that time. Did we have growing pains? Obviously we had growing pains. And I was leading a bunch of kids when I was on the field. And my role as a captain changed a lot, when I was actually leading a team in 2017 when there were much more seniors. And when we got into 2020 and 2021, my role as a leader had changed, and I had to develop and think about what kind of a role I was going to play. It became more of a mentor, and it became more of sometimes a mother. The things changed and added on to my thing. But it was always about building the next generation of leaders. And today, makes us really happy when we see them all going out there, expressing themselves and being who they are, because we expose them very early, and they're going to give that back to the sport as well for the next 10, 15 years.
So coming back to that point, I would like to address, there was one audience who had thrown the question, she's Dipti Parolkar, and she had touched base about, especially when you were growing up with the cricket and you were like, you picked the career which very few women would pick up as a sports, first of all, and then cricket, where the mainstream was already set by the males, and then, the female. Whatever that happens, in the background stage, and if you look and reflect with what is happening today, when you are saying that this is a very conscious efforts that were put forward, that the homegrown teams would go forward, especially for the women's, and it's a good trajectory that we are looking forward in a way. But on the counterpart, the male side, we are still bringing the best players to make the team strong, which is a fundamental difference here. So it's how you put it and how you pursue it is very different. But regards with that, she has a question about the gender bias thing that comes into the sports with the fundings, with the type of support. So has it been the same here? I mean, was that one of the reasons why we are not thinking about bringing up, the India A players, or, different countries A team players out here who are, still waiting for an opportunity, and they could do much better and, build more strength? I mean, it's contradictory, but need to.
Well, I think the gender bias in sports, wasn't there talks even in tennis about these things, very recently.
Yeah.
But it's there. I mean, I think we just have to not beat around the bush here, and we have to talk about the elephant in the room. But I think, yes, have we faced it funding-wise too? It's very different what you get for men's cricket to what women's cricket gets. So I think that's something very, over the past few years, I know with the way the rest of the world has grown with women's cricket, especially WPL, with Big Bash, Women Big Bash in Australia, to the 100 series that happens in England, people have started seeing that there is money involved in women's cricket too, and it's always the chicken and the egg, or kind of a conversation. Do you see that money is there and then put in the money, or do you first put in the money so you can see money later on?
Right.
So that's always, it's always a chicken and the egg. But there is a lot of case studies that you can go back, and I think going back to what Australia did for Women's Big Bash League is they knew for the first few years that they had to invest the money. I think their plan of how to build the sport, especially women's cricket, was a 5-year plan. So they didn't want the return the first year, which they always knew that was never going to happen. But they invested on this concept and knew that there was something to give back. And let's all agree to this. You put in money where you think that it's going to be returned back to you, and that is the world. And do I live in that world? I do, and I understand that. So you got to have a plan for it. You're not going to get it today, but how much risk are you going to take is always going to be the thing. Even with the WPL, there were a couple of years they just played 2 exhibition games, 3 exhibition games, just one team, 2 teams, 3 teams. Then eventually when they saw that concept was clicking with people, now you see it's a big brand, right? We got to start somewhere. We got to start somewhere small. And that always starts with men's cricket. Every concept has always been with men's cricket trying out a concept, and then women's cricket is always the second to follow that path. And do I have a problem with it? Absolutely not, because I think there are times you have to try out, test the waters, and most times men's cricket do that for us. And then we have women's cricketers following that path. Is women's cricket in the US ready to have something like MLC? You've mentioned MLC in this podcast before, which is Major League Cricket. Do we have enough number of girls to put up a very competitive 3 teams together and play an MLC level of, say, cricket? Maybe not today, but can we start off like how WPL did it, just having 2 exhibition games with 2 teams for the first couple of years? giving a platform for the girls,
Yeah.
and then eventually grow up to have its own league, yes. Are we there to start that today? 100%. And I
Yeah.
think, we should start small, with a plan of reaching to the higher stage,
Yeah.
but it should always be smaller investments
Yeah.
with a plan of the 5 years of where you want to reach in 5 years.
So, with regards to that, I also want to, check upon this, the things that are happening right now. So, like, for example, the teams that are actually playing this domestic levels or any game, these are like privately arranged to a matter where, the players are actually putting down the cost just to play and
Yeah.
get that practice ground, which is also one of the, I feel that's one of the challenging things. Like, we are talking about making this cricket accessible, but at the same time it is not affordable. And then when we are looking at the different communities to have and play and experiment this sport, and there is no such progressive path to look like, or any shiny object to chase upon, it's like we are just off balancing everything.
Goes back to the initial comment that I made,
Right.
right? I mean, it almost feels like cricket is for the riches. I make this comment a lot, and it is true. Like, I think today the only way to continue getting some competitive games, if I am a national player and if I want competitive games to keep myself kind of prepared to play all of these ICC games, the only way is for me to play these private tournaments that happens throughout the year, and that's been arranged again by cricket academies
Right.
and cricket community, which is a paid way for me to play. It's a paid tournament. So every tournament, I was there last weekend in San Diego playing a San Diego Open. Again, great competitive games. There were 6 teams, women's teams, plus 3 kind of under 15 teams that played like an emerging tournament at the same location as where we were, and 6 elite groups. So there were how many girls I'm talking about? 60, about 100 girls
Huh.
playing this tournament in San Diego Open last weekend. I was right there. But all of that was paid for. Like,
Right.
everybody who were there, a lot of national players there, they had just finished their World Cup qualifiers, were there to play the San Diego Open with paying money to play that tournament.
Yeah.
And there's Houston Open that happens. Everywhere, all of these opens that happens.
It's a lot of pinch that one has to take in.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I started off saying that, you can make cricket accessible, but what next is what we're kind of missing.
Right.
Which again goes back to having a national governing body who should be able to provide that platform or pathway for you to reach, that level. I understand there's club level that, today soccer, for an example, my son goes to soccer. I'm sure your son goes to soccer too. We still pay and play that games. It's not accessible in the way that we are talking about.
Right. But at least in the school level,
Correct.
and then
Yes.
if you look at their high school admissions, we at least have a case to put up with that
Yes.
sport.
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand, and that is why. And I'm not saying that these girls who have not used cricket to get into good colleges. I have plenty of examples of that. But did they get a scholarship, or did they get recognized as an athlete? As an athlete student? No. Yes. Did cricket help them?
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe it gave them a few points because they were unique and they could sell themselves a little better on their essays. But yes, they got the seat, but they're not athlete students. What happens with that is they don't get permissions like an athlete student to go away for a 3 weeks tournament or a
Right.
6 weeks tournament.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference to that.
That's
They're
the
missing.
gap.
That's
Yeah.
the gap. I
Yeah.
mean, though cricket is helping them,
Right.
gain that identity,
Right.
but then they're also losing out on a lot of things. So
Yeah, it's taxing. But then do you aspire, to look forward for that role where, if at all the governing body is forming? I think, we should have a nice representation there, who is looking forward as a game and, looking forward to foster it.
Great question, and I think a lot of them have asked me this for the past 1 year now, considering that I've retired now and I have a little bit of more time. My passion or my love lays in actually being on the field. would I like to play that role in terms of being in the board and trying to make a change? There's two ways to make a change. You either are in the top level making the change or in the ground level making the change, right?
Yeah.
Which path I want to go, I don't think I have a right answer today, but I do know my love has always been on the field, being with the girls. I've started coaching a lot in the past 1 year. That gives me the highest high so far. Do I want to sit on the boards and like sit on the tables and talk about cricket, or do I want to be with the girls and fight it out with them on the field? It's two ways to think about it. I think currently, if you ask me pick between the two and you put it on the table there and ask me to pick one, I will definitely pick coaching.
Okay.
I think it just gives me a lot more joy when I can see the girls go out there and be themselves, and when you teach them something and they're able to execute it, and you look that joy in their face, I think nothing else can give that.
Yeah, but then the leadership should have shaped you very differently, considering that you were the captain, you were leading a different sort of issues and, had to fix it on the go or whatever. So I mean, I suppose that role could be, I mean, we need somebody on those roles who would give the right justice too. So denying that role would be, again, undermining the capacity and the power that comes with that position to, make those systematic changes.
Exactly, and that is why I think people who should be on that, on that chair should be very passionate about, what they want to give back to the chair, right? I think that's a title that, like you rightly mentioned, I'm not undermining that position at all, in the sense what I am, and what I can give at this point of time, and where I will wholeheartedly, give myself to something would be on the field with it, with the kids and with the girls. But in no way, I think that particular job that you're mentioning to be on the board and having that chair is a thankless job. And again, it's a
but you have already done the thankless job on the field, being a wicket keeper, right? I mean, for a long, long time, and
it's voluntary. You're signing up, to be, put through a lot of hoops and hoops here, and when you sign up to be on the board. But yeah, again, I'm saying it hasn't come my way. Like, if somebody has asked me, like, have I choose one over the other? I haven't, because it hasn't come my way so far.
Okay.
What has come my way is obviously coaching, and I've loved for the past year and a half that I have been coaching. I've definitely loved it so far.
Yeah. So enough of this. We still have a lot of questions, and especially like the audience has poured in too many questions. So I would like to pause on this matter. We're looking forward to build a movement from this passion, and looking forward for supportive hands to join in for making this sports accessible, making it, that somebody out there the next door can play that game type of a thing. But more to it, the audience has poured a lot of love, and, generally we pick one question, but here I'm picking the 6 most questions. One I've already asked about the gender bias thing from Dipti, and there are a few more which I just can't get it off. Being in Silicon Valley, we having the tech founders coming onto this podcast. I'm so fortunate that few of them have come back and have led the questions, and that's very unusual to see for the podcast guests. Whenever we roll in the dice and say that the so and so guest is coming, and would you like to have a question? So those are the first 2 questions I'd like to take. First is from the Atlantic.net, who is a cloud hosting server and the cloud hosting company. They're into the cloud technology. They have asked, because their technology is getting in different games, obviously, they want to know, like, whether cricket is, adapting to the technology and making some decisions, especially for electing the cricket players, and remove the emotional biases that come on a long way, and everybody has witnessed those kind of situations. So for example, like, have you experienced, have you seen that other countries are using it effectively, and what is the role being in Silicon Valley that plays out for them to build this kind of companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think data analysts and data analysis has played a huge role in, especially in leagues, private leagues that have happened, are happening over everywhere around the world today. If you have actually watched any of the auctions that happens, auctions are actually one not right there in the during the auction. It's what's actually happens in the boardroom when they're actually doing the pre-auctions and making their plans. And the way they make their plans for all of this auction is using data and analysis. Every team today, be it RCB or I'm talking more WPL, I'm talking women's cricket, they all hire data analysts. They all hire data scientists. Like they hire for the, in fact, even SF Unicorns is one of the MLC teams. That's actually our home team. People should know that. So my Major League Cricket, San Francisco Unicorn is our home team for the Bay Area. They have 2 college kids who are data scientists who actually worked on who they should be picking in the auction.
Interesting.
And gave them the results based on those data analysis and said who will be their next big batter, who should be their bowler, and that's what they went and bought, and names you probably wouldn't have heard of before. But what they had done is they had done the homework before. They'd seen people, maybe they're not seen, like you said, not seen the face of it, but where they were able to recognize is just by numbers and statistics. But in the end of the day, I want to say data is data to some extent. I know data can't lie, but there is so much more than data as well. There is potential that you see in some talent that might not be numbers itself. So there is some, in some places as a coach, as a captain, I've made some decisions not based on the data. I've just made some decisions on when I pick a team to play, when I pick a team to take on the field with me. It's not always about data. It's not always about, it's about knowing that what the person can provide you just instincts wise. That's one way of using technology. The other way is there are many other, I think one thing that we've used over the years is video analysis, like being able to, as a coach, I've used it a lot where, there's so many today tools that you can go back and, look at the reaction time that they take based on the balls and where are their head positions based on how they play the ball in a particular ball, when during an innings that they have changed their positions a little bit based on the situation. So there's so many kind of analysis that we can do with tools. The other one very recently in October, we had a cricket summit. First time ever that we've had a summit for cricket in the US. It was in the Bay Area. And there was this really great tool. It was called Ludimus startup. I think the CEO or the person who's founder of this is from Netherlands. But he had come up with this particular product, which I kind of loved it, is anybody can get access to this tool. Put in, if there is a trial happening in anywhere in the world, if they have access to this particular tool, it's free app. You can take a video of yourself and based on, they give you angles of where you can, if you're a bowler, to stand behind an umpire and take this video. And you upload this video. And if there is a trial that's happening anywhere in the world, if that, say RCB is conducting a trial and they sign up on this app and say, we're conducting a trials. If anybody wants to take part in this, all they need to do is put this video on them. So that becomes their first level. So anybody in the world can send this video to this particular trial, not just one. They can choose which different trials that they can apply this video to.
So they are actually using that to build their strategy, to change their games, to...
Correct. No, they are building strategy to whom to select based on their first layer. So for example, when you call for a selection trials for RCB, for any other local tournament in India, you have thousands and hundreds and thousands of people.
Yeah. How do we filter them?
To filter out, they're using this product, and then they can filter thousands of people out, and also find talent where otherwise you wouldn't have found them.
Right.
Because it's easily accessible talent. Like more than filtering out, I mean, I know that's one way of looking at it, but for me, it is about the people who never had the opportunity to be part of the trial is now being able to be part of the trial
because
anywhere
they can
in the
showcase
world.
Through the
because,
videos.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
So it becomes accessible. So that's one tool that I can talk about. So I can talk multiple tools
so
like
similar
this.
lines, we had a question from Yogesh Agarwal. He's also founder and CEO of one of the tech company, My Vision Labs. And he was thinking about like, how that technology is getting used. But I think you have already answered it. I just want to thank these audiences, like, all these founders, especially, like, and the CEOs. In spite of their busy schedule, they took a moment to pass this question to you. Maybe they're building out the products in similar
I would
line,
love,
but
yeah.
but the fact that they wanted to, reach out, and it just overwhelmed me. There are other questions too, very interesting ones. One that has come from Anjali, and she is asking about the mental well-being and the physical well-being, especially when, as a mother, as a wife, working woman, and then playing sport. How do you all balance this? And is there any foundational techniques that one can walk away, especially being a woman, where everybody is Ashtabhuja goddess at their home, especially in here, like in this
Yeah.
country.
Talk to my husband. No, just kidding. But I think, yes, I don't think I got it right beginning when I started off, when I have to wear all of these hats, like rightly called out. I have different hats that I have to wear in a particular day. Um, Most times it's the wife that takes the most hitting because, I think being the partner, he makes a lot of sacrifices. That's why I have to call out saying that, yes, I've had the best support system that I could have. And I've said this multiple times everywhere. And even when I was pregnant, I think the only thing my husband kept telling me was just pop the kid out and just go back to playing, and I will take care of the kid. So I've had the best support system that I could have had. I will never take the credit that this is all me. But I think over the years, I've used different techniques to be able to have the right well-being, and I don't think I've always said that I've always been this way. I think it's taken me over a number of years to come up with my own techniques. One way for me that I've said this to a lot of them, and I think it's worked for me, is compartmentalizing my life. So when if I'm wearing a particular hat at this point of moment, that is all that I am now. So that, and the rest of my issues or rest of my thinking, like, it's always put in a box and put away. But when I need to go back to it, I'm ready to go back to it. So compartmentalizing my life has been the biggest technique that I've used. And the one other thing that I tell everybody, even at work, when I'm mentoring my team at work as well, what I tell them is, on a particular day when you wake up, you have 5 things that you got to do. And you have to wear a hat, especially for women. You've got to be a wife, you've got to be a mom, you have to be a professional, at your careers. And you have to have other passions that you all like. You have your podcast, I have cricket, and somebody else has something else. I always rank it on a particular day when I wake up, and I tell my husband, this is my rank today. I am number 1 today. I am going to be a professional. The rest of them are 2, 3, and 4. Anything that's number 4, I tell him that you have to pick up the thing today. So if my 4 is being a mom, then I tell him you're going to be a primary parent today.
Right.
Because I can't do this today because this is my this is my rating.
Yeah, that's
order.
a conflict resolution that you do. But
Yeah.
but the weighting matrix has to be, coinciding with your partner. How about like at the same days, like, both of you could have something very primary coming up. He would also have a rank 1 too.
Yeah, and that's exactly why communication is the most important thing. And I think over the years I have developed that, being able to, for example, say that one particular day I can say being a mom today is my number 1, and then I'm like, everything else you can take care of it, and that's completely fine too. What I probably highlight this. It is okay if being a mom needs to be number 4 or number 5. Completely fine. And I think that's the acceptance that we all need to have as mothers. It's not necessary just because you're a mother, that's your only identity. I learned that very quickly because my mom stayed with me for a year to take care of my son, because I was on the field 8 weeks after delivery playing for the USA team.
Okay.
The only thing she told me was never lose your identity of who you are. And she's like, you're always going to be a mother. It's not that you are going to feel guilty about it, but do not walk away from your dreams. Do not walk away from your passion.
What a wonderful message that you're giving us for the Women's Month. Like, and it's a very hard to digest personally being a mom, but I know at the times you have to,
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
be okay with it.
Yeah, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I did not question it. Like,
Yeah.
While he was pretty young, and now it's different. He's 7 years old, so there's a different challenges I have now, having to deal with him questioning me. So that is a different story. But when he was younger, yeah, there were days when I would question, saying, why am I going for this run while I should have actually been feeding him right now? And those were the times my support system, like my mom would like actually sit on the stairs outside, on the steps outside, and be like, if you think you're not looking after your son and you don't want to go for this run, I'll sit with him outside on the street with you. Go for the run. All he's going to do is look at you, and that's fine. So I would just like run on the street, and my mom is just holding me. He's like, okay, so you're still being a mom because you're still looking at him. That's what you want. You think that you're not being a mother.
That comes down to a very fundamental support system that one has to cultivate. I mean, if not laid up as a red carpet to you, you have to actually make an effort to build that.
And I have these conversations every day with my son too, because I want him to be able to see that mom has her own passion, and then he probably will think about what my passion could be.
Right.
Too soon, but hopefully what we and my husband we are doing is to lay that foundation to say that look for what your passion is and stick with it and kind of take it forward from there.
The next interesting question that I have is from 11-year-old Rian Jain, and he's playing cricket. And his question is, it's a very interesting one. Thank you, Rian, for asking this question. His question is like, I am a vegetarian, but how do I get my proteins? What do I do before playing the game and after playing the game? And especially being vegetarian in this country, how do I manage out myself when I'm traveling? And those are valid questions. I appreciate them coming on your way. But being a South Asian, I think you might have some alternative nutrient systems that you could expose these kids to.
Yeah, a lot, right? But he's 11 years old and want to be all organic too. And I think supplements are something that we can look at much older as he gets much older. That's not something I would recommend. And I'm also not a dietitian, but. Yeah, very tough question for me because I'm not a vegetarian, so it's quite hard to be able to answer him exactly what he wants. And I would definitely say that they should be seeking dietitians to get the right answers. But again, there's still a lot of natural ways of getting protein intakes through your legumes or lentils or any other way, paneer or tofus. But again, I would say. Before a game, after a game, it's completely different. If you're playing the day before, you want to take as much carbs as possible before a game because that's what is going to give you energy. And then after the game is when you kind of you got to build back your muscles. So that's when you take protein. So when is important. So when to take, what to take is more important. So make sure that you're taking a lot of carbs before, and then when you come back is when you take protein because you've got to build back your muscles because you've lost them while you're playing. So that's important. And I'm going to end with hydration is the most important. So drink a lot of water.
Okay. So, it was really overwhelming to see that 11-year boy putting up the question. And, that's the depth that we are looking forward to unfold from this talk show when, when I'm throwing these surprise questions, circulating it, and people are just, responding it so positively. The other question, which is a very interesting one, it is asked by Ameya, and he wants to know, in T20 ODI, a lot of rules have been changed, the cricket rules. So what is that one rule that you think should be changed, can change the game or, whatever? And it is also now, more of a batsman-friendly game that has happened and less of a bowler ones. So, what is that one rule that you wish should be changing?
Well, I'm a batter, so I am biased about this. But I do understand that there's a little bit of more towards the batters, wanting to give them a lot of advantage to the batters. And they did introduce the 2 new balls, which makes it even more easier for the batters to continue hitting the ball because the ball stays harder and then it's easier to get the ball away. I think the one thing that we could think about doing is have the 2 balls until say 25 overs and the fielding team, whichever the bowling team, get to choose 1 ball for the rest of the innings for 25 overs. to use just one ball. I think that will give back a little bit of balance to the batting and bowling. I think with that, what it does, it's softer ball, gives a little bit of more for the bowling team to even use for reverse swings. And I think, definitely, I think will
Yeah,
help.
it's taking out a lot of technicalities that, batsman has to face it ideally. Yeah.
I think that one rule might be interesting to bring back in terms of going back to a single ball for at least, for a larger part of the innings.
Okay. Now we'll quickly go to the rapid fire round, and that without that, our podcast or talk show is not complete. The first question that we always ask is about the book. So, what is that one book that you recommend for the women athletes to pick on? Maybe an inspiration, maybe a building resilience, or whatever it is. What is that one that has touched your heart? You can just mention that.
Yeah, a couple of books actually. So I want to say Rafael Nadal. I think I really enjoyed reading his book. I think it gives you a lot about resilience, like you mentioned. And the other one is called The Courage to be Disliked. Amazing book, and I think the title itself says a lot of things. I think what it teaches you is not to look for happiness in pleasing others. It's about accepting who you are and just being okay with whoever you are, and not about pleasing people.
Yeah.
So I think that particular book has actually taught me a lot. In fact, I just go back to reading a couple of pages from it, and I've read this a few times. So I just pick up on a particular day and want to be like, just go back and revisit a couple of pages on it, and I do that a lot. So it's called The Courage to be Disliked.
Yeah, and it's very apt for this message to give out to the women. The next one, again, it's a very typical one for our podcast, is we ask the question like, complete the sentence. Passion is powerful only when ...
Okay,
Passion is
passion is powerful
only when
it turns into consistency and can be paired with passion and discipline.
Consistency and discipline.
Consistency, purpose, passion, and then discipline. You need a purpose, you need consistency, then you need discipline.
So as a leader, as a captain, you have seen it all, from mentoring the right seniors to even taking the rookie members and making them disciplined. But what is that one missed or the failure that you have spotted that has deeply changed your leadership narrative, or has shaped you far different being a captain? One of the failures that maybe it could be on the fields, maybe it could be making certain decisions.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I think I learned very later on, I wish I had learned early on in my career as a captain, was that I'm not going to have answers to everything. I will make mistakes on the fields. I will make the wrong decisions, and owning up to that and being okay with it. And also listening to my own instincts is more important, and not always sticking to what's the right thing to do. I think that has really, made me who I am today, is being able to trust my own instincts and accepting that I will make mistakes, and being able to be vulnerable about it in front of my team and saying that, yes, owning up and saying that, yes, I made a mistake. And I think those things have shaped me who I am today.
Interesting. So, and if the cricket has not chosen you, what Sindhu would have chose with the same passion, with the same grit?
I honestly don't think I have an answer for that, because I think the only thing I've seen since I was 9 years old, my mom says even before that, but I only remember 9 or 10 years old is when I started playing cricket, and that is all I knew. If not, I feel like I'm a problem solver. I love challenges, so I would have probably be trying to solve some problem. I love the tech world now. I love building new tools. I love being in projects that's challenging. So I think it's that high performance environment is what kind of keeps me going. And I think I would have found that somewhere, if not cricket.
And the last question of rapid fire is, what is that one inspiration that you hold to your heart when there is a bad day?
Oof. Yeah, that's actually a tough one. Probably not an inspiration, and I think it's more looking back at where I was and where I've reached today, to even be sitting and talking about myself or cricket. I don't think I really dreamt this. I don't think it was, it was in the cards. But I think what has worked for me is being true to my passion and being true to myself. I think just understanding that at the end of it, everything will work out and there is a reason for everything that happens. I think it's just being true to that is what has helped me come here and be this. So I think it's just being grateful and being grounded. I think that's what it is.
Wow, interesting. So there are a lot many questions, but let's just wrap it up with the advice question. We have the time limit to, build this show. Maybe in future, I'd like to, make this as a public access show where, people would actually sit and ask you those questions. I was flooded with the questions. I had to, sideline my own questions. But then I'm picking up again, the audience question, Ashit. He has asked about if the women has to, pick on the career, and in today's world where there is TikTok, Insta, Facebook, everybody is, kind of making the statements. It's a very glamorous industry that people are chasing, especially the girls, the teenagers, and, the aspiring women. What is that one advice you'd like to give it to them?
And I think I probably have said this a few times in this podcast already in this 1 hour. I think for me, it's about finding that core values of who you are and what your whys are. I think knowing your purpose, I think it's very key and very important. And everything else will kind of fall into it. Every decision that you will take will be towards your why and your purpose. When you draw a circle of your life, what falls in that center of the circle is the most important thing. So as long as everything else, the decisions, every other circle is always going towards that center of your why, you're doing the right thing.
Oh, and wonderful. I mean, thank you all of you for, pouring amazing questions. And the one last question from my end, when you were playing for US, it's probably the last one, I'm sure. As an immigrant, just being on the verge of playing to the India, being your first country, going there and representing and not being picked up there, just halting at India A team, coming here and getting that red carpet and even, doing the captaincy, how different it felt. And, there are two different emotions here to dissect. One, when you play for your own country, that's a different stream. And the second, like, this is a country that we have chosen to do work, to build our careers. So we say a karma bhumi. So, how those emotions are really different, and what you thought when you stood there when the US national anthem was playing. And I mean, it's probably I cannot just put it in a word, this kind of a question, but as an immigrant, most of us go with this kind of a duality every day.
And I think that should probably tell you why I give back so much to the game. I think it's the gratitude that I have. And if I have to give back to this game, I think it's so much that this game has given me. I think what I felt when I walked onto the field wearing that blue cap as a 9 or 10-year-old, I had dreamt about wearing the blue cap. It just so happened it was a USA blue cap and not an India blue cap. So I think there is still blue in it. And I think that is what I thought about. And I knew the passion was always there. And I knew that one day that it will come my way if I continue, keep doing what I wanted to do. But I think, like I've always said, the sport cricket is given so much. It's all about now giving back to that. It was always the blue cap that I was going for. I got it in one way or the other. So I think that's the way to look at it.
Yeah. A wonderful way to look at it. And thank you, Sindhu, for pouring amazing wisdom nuggets, especially for this Women's Month. And, I personally am going to rely on few advices that you gave. Many a times we fall into those boats, and sidelining one or the other is always the toughest job as a mother, as a wife, as a, caregiver. And picking up your career and leading on that passionate path. It's a relentless journey if one has to establish, and when the pinnacle goes, very steep, then you have to even like we say, put up a double engine to be at there. So it's not an easy journey, and what you have got, we would say it is a part of a luck, but more or less it is more of a resilience and the grit that you have put together to build what you are, like, doing the job, being at caregiving side, at the same time maintaining your routine. I'm sure your day is very, very, filled with activities and the mental stress that it can build to. But in spite of that, I think cricket has given you a lot, and that athletic spirit, can push
Yeah.
a lot many. We want to see more and more women to enter in the sports fields and want to see, shining them. And on this hot seat, we like to bring many more to witness different eras. But what a wonderful start of this Women's Month, and looking forward
Yeah,
to,
thank you so much, Pranali. I think this was great, and rightly said. I think we could continue talking the rest of the night
yeah,
too, but I think we enjoyed the past an hour and a half that we've spent here, and
yeah,
I hope we've been able to send the message out there
yeah,
to be yourself, find your purpose, and continue towards your purpose.
yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thank you.
much.